Hey everyone, Miss Aselson here with Unit 1 Notes 3, Solving Inequalities. In LT2 notes, you learned how to solve equations with multiple steps. So your first step is to distribute and combine like terms. Then you're going to gather the variables to one side, add or subtract to cancel the constant, and then multiply or divide to cancel the coefficient. Okay, so when we did that, we started by drawing a line on our equal sign. And then right away I see I have a -2, and that has to be distributed into both of those. So -2 times 3 is going to give me a -6x. And then a -2 times 5 is going to give me a -10. Okay, and that's going to be equal to 4x plus 20. Those are going to stay the same. Okay, because I have a -6x and I don't like to use or work with negatives, I'm going to add 6x on this side. If I add 6x there, I have to add 6x here. That cancels these two. So now I have -10 equals 4x plus 6x is 10x plus 20. So I'm going to get rid of that 20 on this side. If I get rid of 20 over there, I have to get rid of 20 over here. Okay, so -10 minus 20 is going to give me a bigger negative number. So that's going to give me a -30 equals, we have a 10x. And then to get that x all by itself, right now they're being multiplied, so I'm going to divide by 10. Let's divide by 10 on both sides. So x equals -30 divided by 10 is going to give me a -3. Today we're going to be working with inequality symbols. If you remember, inequality symbols are greater than or less than symbols, or greater than, less than, and equal to symbols. So we're always going to start with keeping our variable on the left side. Okay, so variable must be on left side. Okay, and that's just going to help you for when you're reading it later on, when we're reading them, so you know to read from left to right. Okay, so our top one says x is less than. So when it's less than, we're going to keep our shading, our circle open. Okay, and then we're going to shade. When we shade to the left. Okay, that means it's less than, not as much or fewer than. Okay, the next one down says x is greater than. Okay, it's still just greater than, so we're going to keep it open. If it's just greater than or just less than, we keep it an open circle. And then we're going to shade to the right. Okay, the next one down says x is less than or equal to. Well, here we're going to shade it in. So if it's less than or equal to, then you have to color in that circle to show that it's less than or equal to. And you're going to shade to the left, because left would be the numbers that are smaller than, less than or equal to. Okay, and your bottom one says x is greater than or equal to. So again, that's going to be a solid circle. And here you're going to shade to the right. Greater than or equal to, no less than, at least. What you have to always remember when we're doing this shading piece, or when we're finding inequalities, when multiplying and dividing by a negative number, you have to flip the sign. So if it's ever a multiplying by a negative or dividing by a negative, you have to take that greater than or less than symbol and you have to flip it the other direction. And we'll have practice with these in a second here so you can better understand that. Okay, to solve these inequalities, we're going to do the same as we did when we were solving the equations from our LT2 homework. So we're going to draw our line just as if that was an equal symbol. Okay, so it says a minus 3 is less than 2. And I know it's less than because remember the alligator wants to eat the bigger one. So because the alligator is pointing to the 2, that side has to be bigger. To get rid of that -3, we're going to add 3 on this side. If we add 3 on the left, we also have to add 3 on the right. That takes care of those right there. So now I'm just left with a on the left side, and then is less than 2 plus 3 is 5. So that's going to be my final answer. A is less than 5. Now we have to decide if we're going to shade and if it's going to be an open dot or a closed dot. Remember, if it's just less than, we're just going to keep it open. And I'm going to put a 5 right under there. Okay. And then we have to shade because it's less. So any numbers that would be less, well, less would be 4, 3, 2, and 1. So we're going to shade this direction to the left because it's less than. Okay, we're going to do the same thing with number 3. So I'm going to draw my line in there. Okay, this one says 3 times x is greater than or equal to 18. Well, the opposite of multiplying by 3 is dividing by 3. So I'm going to divide here by 3. And if I do that by 3, I have to divide here by 3. Okay, so now I'm just left with x. I'm going to keep my greater than or equal to symbol the same. I divided, but I didn't divide by a negative number. So that one's going to stay the same direction. 18 divided by 3 is 6. So this one's saying x is greater than or equal to 6. So because it's greater than or equal to, I'm going to color in, because that equal sign, I'm going to color in that circle. I'm going to put my 6. And if it's greater, I'm going to shade everything that's greater than 6. So if this was 6, then we're going to say 7, 8, 9, 10. So everything going in that direction will be shaded. Okay, we're going to do the same thing here. I'm going to treat this less than symbol like an equal sign. Okay, and it says d over 4 is less than 16. Well, I'm going to say that this d over 4, remember that's just like d divided by 4. The opposite of divide by 4 is multiply by 4. So I'm going to multiply by 4 on this side, and that's going to take care of those 4s. Those are gone now. If I multiply by 4 on that side, I also have to multiply by 4 on the right side. So on the left side, I'm just left with d, and then it's going to be less than, d is less than, and then 16 times 4 is going to give me 64. Okay, so because it's just less than, I'm going to keep my circle open. 64 goes right under it. And anything less than 64 is going to be shaded. So everything to the left will be shaded on that one. Number 5 is where we had talked about, remember, if you're multiplying or dividing by a negative number, you have to flip your sign. So that means your greater than or equal to sign or less than or equal to sign has to be flipped. Okay, so it says negative 2 times b is less than or equal to 16. Well, to get rid of that negative 2, I have to divide by negative 2. So if I divide that side by negative 2, I'm also going to divide the right side by negative 2. Okay, because we divided by a negative 2, I'm going to keep my b over here, but instead of it being less than or equal to, I'm going to flip it, and now it's going to be greater than or equal to. So 16 divided by negative 2 is going to give me negative 8. And then I'm going to read it from left to right. B is greater than or equal to, so because it's greater than or equal to, it's going to be colored in. Greater than or equal to, I'm going to put in negative 8 on the bottom, and greater is going to go to the right side. Okay, number 6, I'm going to do the same way. I'm going to start with drawing my line in. Okay, remember we want to stay as far away from the variable as we can. So I have 13 minus 4k. That minus 4k has to stay together. So the first thing I want to do is get rid of that 13. It's a positive 13 right now, so I'm going to say minus 13 on this side, minus 13 on this side. So now I have negative 4k is greater than or equal to, and then 27 minus 13 gives me 14. And then I have to divide by that negative 4 to get k all by itself. And I have to remember I'm thinking to myself, if I'm dividing by a negative number, I have to flip that sign. So I know this k is left over here, and it was less than or equal to. I'm going to change it to greater than or equal to. So 14 divided by negative 4 is going to give me a negative 3.5. And if I read left to right, k is greater or equal to negative 3.5. So then because it's greater than or equal to, I'm going to color that in. I'm going to have my negative 3.5 under it. And if it's greater, I'm going to shade everything to the right side. Okay, number 7, I want to look and I want to get my variables together. So I have a 9x on one side and a 4x on the other side. I want to move my 4x over by my 9x, so I'm going to subtract them from both sides. So I have 5x plus 5 is greater than 15. Okay, I don't want to have that plus 5 on the side, so I'm going to get rid of 5 over here. If I get rid of 5 over there, I have to get rid of 5 on the other side. So those 5s are gone. Now I'm left with 5x is greater than 15 minus 5 is 10. Now I have to get that x all by itself. Right now they're being multiplied, so now I'm going to divide by 5 on both sides. And I have x is greater than 2. Okay, it's not greater than or equal to, so I'm going to leave this open because it's just greater than. I'm going to put my 2 on the bottom, and if x is greater than 2, remember the alligator wants to eat the big one, so x is greater than 2, I'm going to shade to the right. Okay, moving on to number 8. I'm going to draw my line in as if that were an equal sign, and it says b divided by -3 plus 5 is less than 10. The first thing I want to do is I want to get that b all by itself. In order to get it all by itself, the first thing I have to do is get rid of that 5. So I'm going to say -5 on the left, -5 on the right. So now we have b divided by -3 is less than 10 minus 5 is 5. Okay? Remember, this is just like saying divided. B divided by -3. To get rid of divided by -3, we're going to multiply by -3. If we multiply by -3 on this side, we also have to multiply by -3 on this side. Remember, when you multiply or divide by a negative number, you have to flip your sign. So I'm going to have my b is going to stay the same on the bottom. And then instead of being less than, it changed to greater than. So 5 times -3 is going to give me a -15. It's going to be an open circle because it's greater than, and it says b is greater than -15. -15 goes on the bottom, and I'm going to shade greater than -15. Okay, number 9, we have to do a little distributing first. 6 times 5, z is 30z, and then 6 times -3 is going to give me -18. And that's going to be less than or equal to 36z. Okay, I want to get my z's together. So I'm going to move my 30z over to the right. So -30z, -30z. So on the left, I'm left with -18 is less than or equal to 36 minus 30 is going to give me a 6z. Okay, and to get rid of that 6, we're going to divide by 6. Divide by 6. Now, even though this is going to be a negative number, we are not dividing by a negative number. So -18 divided by 6 will give me a -3. And because that 6 is positive, we're going to leave the symbol the same. Okay, and this one we're going to read it backwards. So we're going to start on the right side, and we're going to read it to the left side. So z is greater than -3, greater than or equal to. So because it's greater than or equal to, I'm going to color it in. I'm going to say -3 goes in the bottom. And if z is greater, that means we're going to shade to the right. Mr. Hooper already has $50, but he needs $250 to buy a new laptop. He gets paid $20 per day. That's kind of your keyword right there, per day, for delivering papers. What's the least number of days he must work to get enough money for his computer? So I'm going to say x equals number of days. Okay, and we're going to set it up just like our problems were set up before. If he gets $20 per day, we're going to say 20x plus he already has $50. And he needs to make more than $250. That's how much his computer is. But he can make more than that $250 and he would be happy. So I'm going to say the left side, 20x plus 50, has to be greater than the right side, the cost of the computer. Okay, and then we're just going to solve this like we did before. So we're going to say minus 50 on both sides. So now I have 20x on my left side. It's going to be greater than or equal to 200 is left on my right side. Then I'm going to divide by 20, divide by 20. X is greater than or equal to 10. Okay, word problems need answers with words. So you need to have the word days, because it's asking how many days does he work. X has to be greater than 10 days in order to earn $250. All right, this last one. You have $18.50 to spend on pizza. It only costs $14 plus 75 cents for each additional topping. So we're going to say 75 cents for each additional topping, tax included. Write and solve an inequality to find the maximum number of toppings the pizza can have. Okay, so right away we're going to say X equals toppings. That's what we're going to use. That's the variable we're going to use for our toppings. Okay, we know that each topping is 75 cents. We're going to put an X by it to see how many we can get, plus the $14 the pizza costs in the beginning. Okay, you have $18.50. You can't spend more than $18.50. So the cost of the pizza, the $14 plus the toppings, have to be less than $18.50. So we're going to say the left side is going to be less than $18.50. Okay, and we're just going to solve that like we did before. So we're going to take 14 away on both sides. So I still have 75x on the left side, and that has to be less than or equal to 450. Okay, and then I'm going to divide by that 0.75, or that 75 cents. So divide by 75 cents. Okay, and that's positive, so we can just say X has to be less than or equal to 6. So you can get 6 or less toppings on your pizza and still be able to pay for it. Okay, that concludes the notes video for today. If you have questions, don't hesitate to come around and ask. We will be around to help as needed. Send Schoology messages, raise your hand while you're in the class. Whatever your situation is, let us know if we can help you.